In 1533, Francisco Pizarro, a Spanish conquistador, say that right?
Yeah, nailed it.
And around 200 men went to what we know as Peru and took down the entire Incan Empire. Did I say all those words right?
It's pretty good. Your Incan's a little weird, but it's just how you're going to say it.
I'm stuck. And this is Laughs from the Past. Let's talk about it. Incan.
You're there.
Close? Okay, cool.
You'll never be confused with a native.
Well, they're all dead, so that's good. Ooh. I think. I don't know. All right. What's up, Jake? How you doing?
I'm good, James.
You ready to laugh at the past?
I think so. You've stumbled onto something here, Jim.
This is your favorite story in all of history?
I did a project on Francisco Pizarro in like 7th grade, which means I don't remember a thing of it. But there should be 2 moments where I'm like, oh, yeah, totally. Yep.
Interesting. Okay, cool. This is a fun story. Well, fun's a weird word. It's wild.
Fun is a weird word. I remember being like, oh, this will be like cool history project. And then it was like, oh, not cool, not the right word.
Well, lost civilizations are wild because one point it's super sad, right?
Right.
And that, is this rude? At another point, it's like, well,
survival of the fittest, bud.
Yeah, get with the times.
Yeah.
Don't let 200 Spanish people take over your entire empire.
Right. And I don't want to say Trojan horse aspect, but I think I'm vaguely remembering the Spanish coming in friendly and then, no, you're all dead. If
the Trojan horse is the Shakespeare of trick plays in military war, how the Incans got beat is like a QB sneak.
Okay. Then yeah, that's kind of what I was saying.
Maybe that's bad. I'm trying to say it's a terrible trick play. Barely a trick. Like everyone knows what's happening. Oh. All right. Well, first we're going to get into Francisco Pizarro. I'm not going too much into his background, but he was born of poor people, rose to power, and he went on all these like conquests and tried to take over.
Pretty cool. I mean, well, I shouldn't say pretty cool, but I would say the day you announce you're an explorer, like that doesn't happen anymore. Now you have wanderlust.
What people don't understand about explorers, and it's not a knock on people, it's just kind of, when I was little, they don't like Christopher Columbus, all those explorers. They're basically small armies because everywhere they go, they're getting treated viciously and hostile and attacked, and they need to defend themselves.
Right.
That's kind of wild. You don't think about that. It wasn't like, let's get on a boat and go. It was like, oh shit, we're probably going to die from shipwreck, starving, disease, or as soon as we land, the natives kill us.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Thanksgiving's a holiday, right?
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that. I have that lined up. I love the real story of Thanksgiving and some fun Thanksgiving facts. So be on the lookout in about 6 weeks.
Good to know.
All right, I'm going to go. I have 2 source materials here, so I'm going to go back and forth between them. But let's get into this story of how did 200 people trick and conquer an entire empire.
Sure.
Here we go. In 1533, a highly advanced civilization lay spread across the Andes Mountains. The Incas commanded an empire that stretched 3,000 miles and was about twice the size of Texas. Pretty big.
Big.
It boasted paved roads, intricate fortifications as good as any in the world, and an army of 80,000. Over the centuries, this empire had accumulated a vast supply of gold.
Right. Incan gold.
The Incan gold.
Yeah.
Fool's gold.
No.
Okay. That's what attracted Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro. After arriving on the scene, however, his band of soldiers became terrified by the numbers and might of the Incas and feared for their lives. I think this isn't right. Still, their thirst for riches knew no bounds, and they were willing to risk everything to get their hands on all that gold. So this is where I go to my second source, because I'm like, that sounds like you're just playing it up. They went there to get the gold and conquer.
Yes.
Pizarro asked King, I can't think of his name. I think it might have been, I just had it up. He asked the king at the time for permission to go. And the king said, not only do I give you permission and I will fund this trip, any land that you seize, you will get to rule.
Right.
You will become the main dude. So I don't think they landed and were scared. I think they went in knowing the...
I think they were just saying they were scared by the numbers. Like they expected like 10,000 people, and now it's like, okay, army of 80K. Well, tough.
Yes. That's probably...
Bad matchup.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the king's name, just for people that like history. King Charles.
King Charles.
Okay. So they go there, and they have to figure out how are we going to kill this people, because it's literally they have 200 soldiers and there's like this says 80,000. Actually, the Incas, I can't say this. It's such a mental block. They had just gone through a civil war in where their leader, his name is kind of crazy to pronounce. It is
Teotihuacan.
No, it's like Atahualpa. Atahualpa and his brother.
At the wall butt.
Atahualpa.
Okay.
I did YouTube how to pronounce this name. Him and his brother just got into a civil war that kind of split the Incan Empire.
Okay.
And so they were 80,000 people, but half of them had just been like through a losing effort, and the other had just been through a winning effort. So there was a little bit of a divide already happening within the Incan Empire itself. Right. So that kind of helped Pizarro. I don't know if he knew this or knew that could help him, but that helped him out a little bit. So they conceived a plan, and it is now known as the Battle of Cajamarca. Cajamarca. Basically, Jake, the plan, we talked about Trojan horse. We talked about tricky plans, right?
Right.
The plan was that Pizarro invited Atahualpa to come say hi.
Sure.
They were in the town of Cajamarca. They're like, hey, dude, want to come say hi? Pay your respects?
Yeah.
So listen to how Atahualpa entered. So Atahualpa says, yeah, Pizarro, we'll come say hi. We just won. We just won the civil war against my brother. We're feeling high. You have 200 men. What could you possibly do to us?
Right.
But he kind of sets himself up. So Atahualpa led a procession of a greater part of Inca's forces. But fortunes changed dramatically when Atahualpa announced that most of his host would set up camp outside the walls of the city. So the Spanish have the city of Cajamarca. They're set up there. He's like, sure. Most of my soldiers are going to set up outside the walls of your city. He requested that accommodations be provided only for himself and his retinue, which would forsake its weapons in a sign of amity and absolute confidence.
By the way, how are people talking? Did I miss that?
Vocal cords.
Same language? Same language?
So Atahualpa sent a guy to help lead the Spanish because he just had no fear of these 200 Spanish conquistadors.
Right, but do you know what I'm saying? Do we have two languages meeting for the first time?
Yes, but Atahualpa had sent a translator to help out the Spanish and translate the meeting.
Right, you say that like these are known languages. Like, hey, I'm meeting up with a French guy later. My French buddy's coming with me. He knows English too.
Yeah,
we're at square one.
Well, yeah. So a lot of priests would go around and know different languages. They'd learn it. So translators weren't uncommon really ever. When the Pilgrims landed in America for the first time, Squanto was a Native American who had previously been captured, lived in Britain, came. So he translated. It's just kind of like there's always going to be one guy. And if not, I guess you do charades. It's wild thought.
That's what I'm saying. I think we're full charades. This is This is Spain and Peru, dog.
Well, yes, but there was an Incan who they say knew Spanish and talked.
All right. No, I'm not ready to move on. I'm not ready. So
Okay.
So all right. So here's what I can buy. There's some Incan guy that's been on the other side of South America that had seen Spanish people and maybe learned some Spanish, whether through the church or not, whatever. This guy was just, I'm assuming this guy's just a nobody in the community. Then 200 guys show up in shiny metal armor, and now this guy's the lead?
He's just a translator.
All right. I'm not going to be able to come to grips with that.
Yeah, translators existed for a while. Okay. Shortly before sunset, so he came and he not only he didn't bring his entire army into the city square, and the people that he did bring in, which they think was around 8,000 people, which is crazy. Like, oh, we're gonna go meet these Spanish. Let's take the entire 8,000 people village. That seems nuts to me. Anyway, The people he did bring, he left all their weapons aside because he was so confident that nothing was going to happen. These 200 Spanish who had come. This is also the third time they tried to conquer Peru. So they have a history of trying to do this.
Okay, so yeah, all right.
Shortly before sunset, Atahualpa left the armed warriors who had accompanied him on an open meadow about half a mile outside Cajamarca. His immediate party still numbered over 7,000, but were unarmed except for a small battle axes intended just for show. Spanish were like, okay, we have guns. Atahualpa's attendants were richly dressed in what were apparently ceremonial garments. Many wore gold or silver discs on their head, and the main party was preceded by a group wearing livery of checkered colors, who sang while sweeping the roadway in front of Atahualpa. So they're, like red carpet, but they're just sweeping it.
Yeah.
Like a little game of the Olympic sport that everyone loves now that I can't think, which ruined trying to say it.
Curling.
The Inca himself was carried in a litter. I'm guessing that's like when you think of the movie 300, they carry the guys on their shoulder.
Right.
Like if I Google carried on a litter, yes. So it's like a litter box, like it's a box. Man, litter box? Is that where that comes from?
Whoa.
Is a class of wheelless vehicles, a type of human-powered transport. So yeah. So they're carrying him, sweeping the road before him, even though his feet aren't even touching the ground, because he's being carried in a litter lined with parrot feathers and partly covered in silver, carried by 80 Inca courtiers of high rank in vivid blue clothing. So they're like dressed for the ball.
Yeah.
They are dressed as nice as they possibly can to go get slaughtered, which they don't realize.
Is there anything to it that third time they're there, they've been fended off twice, they only have 200 guys? All right, let's talk to these guys. They must be stupid if they think they're going to take all of us on.
That's got to be it, but a little too casual, like a little too confident.
Right.
Riding very high. So we just described they're coming in blue. They look great. Atahualpa's intentions appear to have been to impress the Spanish force, but he had no anticipation of an ambush. The Spaniards had concealed themselves within the building surrounding the empty plaza at the center of town. So they're just hiding behind walls and in alleyways and all that with their guns and their crossbows, and they have now put fish in a barrel just into the middle of this hall in town. Pizarro recalls that many of his fellows urinated out of pure terror because they had no idea there's so many people coming in. Like, holy shit. So upon entering the square, Atahualpa sees that there's no Spanish. He's like, hello. I just put on this grand show. We're all in our best outfits. Where are you?
We were wearing our brightest blues. Where are you guys?
So then the friar, who's like the priest, accompanied by the interpreter, emerged from the building where Pizarro was lodged. He carried a cross and a missal, and the friar passed through the rows of the attendants who spread out to allow the Inca's litter to reach the center of the square. So now the litter is a little bit reachable.
Okay.
The friar comes up. He announces himself, "Hey, I'm here from God and Spanish throne." And he demanded that Atahualpa accept Catholicism as his faith and Charles V as the Holy Roman Empire of his sovereign ruler. And Atahualpa's like, "No.
Like, totally no.
I'm not going to do that because I'm the ruler of the Incas and we're bigger than you." And
by the way, that's a power. That's a powerful scene in the movie.
Oh, yeah, that's pause and silence.
Yeah, when the priest rolls out and drops that nuke. Yeah.
So it was somewhere during this negotiations, and no one knows for sure what set it off, but eventually the guns just start firing.
Sure.
And it's crazy because they have guns, sure, but there's only 150 to 200 armed guys with guns and crossbows, and there's 7,000 people in the square. You got to think that, they're reloading and then you can take some down or something, but they just slaughter everyone, basically. The people carrying the litter, they had soldiers with guns, and then they had cavalry, and so the Spanish charged the cavalry towards the litter to try and get them to drop that so they could get to Atahualpa.
Nice.
And they just start cutting the limbs off these people that are carrying the litter, and they were shocked because then people were just still carrying the litter with their stumps.
Right.
And they refused to drop their leader, which
like that.
That's scary and kind of crazy and bad sign of civilization.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes when the leader is so strong, that means the people are brainless, dumb idiots.
Interesting.
Oh, you just got your arm cut off? Maybe run for safety. No, I got to protect the king.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to bleed to death and probably die. Finally, the litter falls and topples over, and the Spanish think they have a clear shot, but all of the Incans, is it Incans, right? Now throw themselves in front of him to die for him, which, that's what you got to do. It's 1500s.
It's a noble death.
Yeah, I guess so. But Pizarro recognized the importance of having Atahualpa as a hostage and not killing him. So he rode his horse through to stop him from being killed, taking a knife wound or a sword wound on the way. So he's a hero.
Well,
put himself in the line of danger to save Atahualpa in the middle of ordering thousands of people to die. Hero?
Yeah, hero's not the right word at all.
Okay.
One of the most greed-driven humans ever, maybe.
I'm not going to debate that hero's not the best word.
Okay.
So the people that are a mile and a half away outside the city walls, all the soldiers, they just won a war against 40,000 people. They're armed out there. And they outnumber the Spanish 45-1. But all the people came running their way, screaming. They toppled a wall. They were screaming so much. And news came that all of Atahualpa's top commanders were dead. And that Atahualpa was taken. And they just completely lost steam and were confused. They're like, well, what do we do?
That was not a great sign of civilization.
Yeah, brainless unless the empire tells you to do something. So the term that is it's super culpa or something like that. I'm trying to find it. Oh, Sapa Inca. So the Sapa Inca was Atahualpa, and he's more than just the king. He's their spiritual,
right?
He's like God.
We're talking Egypt type stuff.
Yes. So he's taken. So they just don't even put up a fight, and the Spanish have now won in the easiest ambush ever.
Maybe.
I mean, who are we blaming? The people of the Incan people seem pretty dumb. Then the Incan leader himself seems pretty dumb. And I don't know if I'm being rude to Incans. But everything they did in this battle was very dumb. They wanted to get killed by 200 people.
It's religion, man.
If you're Pizarro and you invite him to come to the city town, and he says, yes, I will come. Pizarro's like, okay, great. Step one, awesome. This is going to be hard, but they're coming. I will only bring a quarter of my troops. Okay. Okay, great.
Perfect.
And they will have no weapons. Is this guy trying to die? I think Pizarro thought he was going to come lay down and be like, yes, I'm Catholic now. Charles V is ruler. This Incan shit, I'm bored of it. Because why else would he come so prepared to be ambushed?
I think, again, like you said, the numbers were so off that I'm guessing when they initially discussed all this, Pizarro dropped hey man, we're only 200 guys. Can you not have your armed people in town?
You're going to scare us.
Yeah. There's only 200 of us. If you have 10,000 armed guys, we think you're just going to slaughter us. So so you guys can't have your weapons, okay? They can be right outside of town.
But then again, if you're Atahualpa and you agree to those terms, you're begging to die. Hey, army, I know that I'm your god and I'm your leader. They asked if we not bring weapons and only bring a quarter of our people, so we're going to oblige them.
You got to have a safe word.
Sir, God, Atahualpa, I think they're trying to murder us. You're fucking murdered now. Don't speak out against me. They're not trying to murder us. This is a friendly thing. Everyone wear their brightest blue.
You need a Paul Revere light the candle type situation ready for your army. Like if these 200 Spanish idiots do try to pull a fast one, you need the system in place that's like everybody in now. Yeah. And they didn't have that.
No. And they should have just had weapons. All right, so what do you think happens to Atahualpa? Held hostage now.
You keep him alive, right? Got to.
Do you remember anything from your 7th grade report? Did anything click?
Not really. I remember basically what I said before this. I remembered, I don't want to say Trojan horse style, but they came in innocent. It was pretty ugly. And now I'm just going back to being a middle school history teacher. That's a tough job because you're kind of skimming off a lot of the fat.
Yeah, because most history's fucked up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you try to leave out as much rape, pillage, and murder as you can to get the kids to learn what history takes away from it. But yeah, I mean, Atahualpa definitely ringing bells. I remember walking away and being like, I went into the project thinking like, exploring is cool, and Pizarro must be like Spanish Christopher Columbus, and then I walked away like, oh, not so much of that.
All right, so desperate to negotiate his release, Atahualpa offered the Spaniards a stupendous ransom, a room full of gold and 2 rooms full of silver in return for his freedom. Sounds pretty nice.
So let's think about this. So we had the senior prom got busted up. They steal the king / god. So now what? The 200 Spanish people have locked down, I'm guessing, wherever the king lived, and they just have him hostage there, and everyone else is still outside the city wanting their king god back?
Yeah, I guess they're completely lost because his brother just died. Now he in the Civil War, so half the country might have been on the Spanish side. Like, yeah, this dude just beat us.
Right.
We'll fuck with you Spanish people, and then maybe we'll try to kill you later. They seemed like a people ready to be taken over.
Like who? So the red wedding goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Who goes to the door and says, hey, a room of gold, 2 rooms of silver for Atahualpa, out the door. Deal or no deal? Who says that?
According to the things, Atahualpa said he was negotiating his own release, said, I'll fill these rooms for you. They probably let him, like with guarded Spanish people, go within the walls and find it. Do it. He did it. He got this room full of gold and 2 rooms full of silver.
Right. But then what?
They said, thank you. now you're going to die. Because
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
Did you not learn anything from
Have you not gotten anything from our moral compass yet?
Hey, okay, moral compass. Good. Cuz good job, Jake. Cuz listen what happens now.
Sure.
They were ready to burn him at the stake until he made a last-minute conversion to Christianity.
Smart.
So,
really heady move.
First step, they say, come on just for a meeting. Atahualpa says, yeah, of course. We're going to dress up. We're not going to bring any weapons. They say, aha, gotcha. We just killed all of you. Now you're our prisoner. We've taken over your entire nation. He said, oh, we'll release you if you give us gold or silver. He says, done. Here's my gold or silver. Thank you. I'll be released now. Aha, gotcha. We're not going to release you, but thank you for the gold and silver. Now they're ready to burn him at the stake. He says, what if I become Christian? Would that save me? They say, yeah, of course, become Christian. He says, okay. A little quick baptism in the river. John the Baptist comes by. They say, aha, gotcha. We don't give a shit, man. What have you not learned here, Atahualpa? But instead of burning him at the stake, they hanged him instead. That was nice. I haven't been through either, so I'm not sure which is better. But they thought they were being nicer, I guess.
I just laughed pretty good in my head at the thought of you. Like someone's kidnapped you. They have a gun to your head. And they're just like, yeah, the only way you get out of this is if you say you're Jewish now. You're like, okay.
Okay.
Okay. So no death. I'm Jewish now? Okay. Just insert any religion there. Like, yeah, sure.
Done.
Good deal. Where do I sign?
Because otherwise you're going to kill me.
Yes. And that's probably tough for some of our more religious listeners, but...
Yeah. Well, yeah. It wasn't for Atahualpa. He was like, okay, I'm Christian now. Dude, they don't care. You're going
No. It's cool, guys. Don't worry about the gold, the silver, and the killing. I'm Christian now. Dude, we don't care. Catch the net.
We have your people. We have your gold. Now we have your life.
Pleasure doing business with you. Big A.
There's a couple more interesting things about this story. One, Atahualpa's wife, 10-year-old Cuxamere Akla. Yeah. Times were different.
I don't love that.
Okay, but listen. So 10-year-old Atahualpa's wife, she was with the army. She stayed with him while he was imprisoned. Following his execution, she was taken to Cusco, which is a different place, and given the name Donna Angelina. Much easier to say than Cuxame Akla.
Hey, instead of calling you Cuxame Akla, let's just go Angelina, babe.
Yeah, Donna Angelina is much easier for us, and we clearly don't care about your culture at all. So
anything.
So she's 10 years old in 1532 when this goes down. In 1538, she's now 16 years old, and at that time, she becomes Francisco Pizarro's mistress. Bears him 2 sons, Juan and Francisco.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. So, dude, we got your people. We got your gold. We got your life. I've now got your wife.
Boom roasted.
Francisco Pizarro completely took Atahualpa's life and people, everything.
Everything.
What a thorn in his side.
Conquered.
Yeah, yes. That conquered in every way possible. Okay, so they have 2 kids. What happens to Pizarro? You ask?
Sure.
Pizarro was a perfect example of the expression, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. Sword. After a lifetime of treachery and violence, even toward his own countrymen, he was surprised and killed by a band of assassins as he ate dinner in the governor's palace in Peru. The assassins were there to avenge the death of a fellow conquistador whom Pizarro had first cheated, then executed.
I'm going Not the sword line. I'm going what goes around comes around.
Yeah, what goes
which
around
is the
comes
same phrase.
Same phrase. Yeah. So, I mean, he was in the governor's palace and died by assassins, kind of like Atahualpa, whatever his name is. But
yeah, I think it's back in the day. I think it was a lot better to just kind of go under the radar.
I think I would say all times. Like, do you want to be the president of the United States?
No. I think when Barry O was in the office, people were like, yeah, Barry's cool. Bill Clinton's cool. W.
Well,
But I mean, even being like a celebrity. Because those were the only celebrities at the time.
yeah. I mean, it seems like if the way you chased fame was by killing people and stealing civilizations,
Right.
maybe stay a little less under the radar than that.
Yes.
Just be like the jester.
every day.
Yeah, so he died. And want to know what happened with his mistress? Donna Angelina?
Tell me she becomes the queen.
She married the interpreter.
Stop it.
So she went from king to conqueror to the middleman interpreter. And like that middleman interpreter was probably having an affair the whole time.
Yo, totally. Those kids weren't Pizarros.
Wow. Juan de Betanzos was his name. He was the interpreter between the Incans and the Spanish.
Yeah, Pizarro was a dick, and Wande was kind of the nice interpreter guy, and they fell in love.
And with her, with Juan Diaz and his new wife Donna, they wrote the book, one of the books that is the sources on all of this. Which then, as a history major, makes me question everything. Because, like, okay, we're taking 10-year-old captured wife's side.
Well, she was 16 when she had the kids. So when Pizarro gets killed, she's 18. Who knows?
But she's 10 when this all goes down, and
right.
so it's her 10-year-old
interpreting those memories.
10-year-old memories. So she could be like, he was the biggest man in the world, but like you have little kid eyes. You're 10 years old. I get it. You're wife of the king, which is great. Just fucked up.
Hey man, I'm glad I got hung up on the interpreter thing before, because now he's writing the history books.
Yeah, that's why I knew that was coming.
I don't know. A, still don't get the whole interpreter thing. B, that he ends up being the guy. Does make it a good flick.
Doesn't make it a good movie. The interpreter gets the girl in the end. Granted, she's a child.
The interpreter gets the girl and the storytelling.
Yeah. He played both kings.
That's what I'm saying about being under the radar.
Oh, wow. So this interpreter totally played both.
You got everyone.
Juan de Betanzos. Good job.
What if Jim?
Yes?
He did all of this. Hey, what did that guy just say? Oh, he said he's going to leave all his unguarded warriors outside of the city. So you just come in, ask him if he wants to join the church. If he doesn't, I guess just kidnap him.
I think this is how it went.
And then be like, oh, hey, what did those Spanish guys say? And he's just like, oh, they're totally cool, man. They're just coming in. And then he starts pitting them against each other. He's the puppet master. He's the only guy that knows the two languages.
This is how it went down, Jake.
Okay.
Pizarro, Atahualpa, I can't remember how to say his name anymore. Interpreter. They're all hanging out, right?
Sure.
Pizarro says, I have men here. We'd like a little bit of your gold, and we'll leave you alone. We'll live on the land, and we'll survive with you. Atahualpa says, what did he just say? Interpreter says, he said he's going to conquer your people, kill you, and take your wife. Atahualpa says, I'd rather not. If he wants to just have some of the gold, hang out, and be civil, we'd love that. Pizarro says, what did he just say? He said, I fucking dare you to conquer my people, take my wife, and kill me. And then it was on. An interpreter just started a war.
That's what I'm saying, man. The interpreter has so much power here. He's the only person that knows what both sides are doing.
Yeah.
And that comes back to, again, who's writing history and what Pizarro was. Maybe this whole thing was spun differently.
You never know.
Right?
Never know. But pretty cool tale if that's how the ambush actually happened, which I think it did.
I mean, I'll believe it.
10-year-old wives, though. Rather not have that be part of the story.
It's tough.
Like if you're teaching this in 7th grade, you just say his wife.
Yeah, you leave that out. Yeah.
He then later took his wife as a mistress. Mr. Nolan, how old was the wife? She was 4. Oh, my God.
Ugh.
All right, so that's the story of the Incans, Pizarro, translators, Peru. Francisco Pizarro founded Lima, Peru, which still stands today, which I think had a crazy earthquake. They thought God was punishing them, and then people started pillaging, and they hung the first pillager in the middle of town square so the pillaging would stop, and then they cleaned up the city. I think there's like a really cool story of them cleaning up the city after the earthquake, and this one priest who maintained law and order. Pizarro would have been proud.
Maybe.
Probably not. Wasn't a fan of law and order at all.
No.
He was rooting on the pillagers.
Well, that's whatever the translator tells us. Pizarro could have been a good guy.
Great guy. All right, well, that's Laughs from the Past. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week with another story from history and some laughs from the past.
See ya.